The rain soaked through to Leo's bones before he turned off the main road. He pulled his coat tighter against the wind, stepped over a puddle that stretched across the entire lane, and kept moving. His watch said he was 12 minutes late. The old boss would not forgive that, even in death. The church had 2 chapels, side by side, with carved numbers nailed to each door. The rain blurred the paint on the wood. Leo squinted, counted the steps from the gate, matched it to the text the secretary had sent, and grabbed the door handle. It stuck. He pulled harder, put his shoulder to it, and the heavy oak swung inward with a low, silent groan. The hush inside hit him first, thick and warm after the cold wind. Murmurs of prayer rolled soft over the pews. No one turned. No one looked. Leo slipped sideways along the back wall, stepped over a kneeler, and lowered himself into the only empty row. The seat creaked once, quiet enough that no one would notice. He bowed his head, folded his hands in his lap, and slowed his breathing. The row next to him stayed empty. The prayer continued, low and steady, rolling over the wooden beams. Leo did not check the casket at the front. He did not scan the faces of the mourners. He was late. He was wet. He just wanted to get through the service and leave. He had no idea he had pulled open the wrong door. The final prayer faded into silence. The priest closed his book, and the first row of mourners stood to leave. Leo stayed where he was, pressed back against the wooden wall, and let every other person file past. He kept his head lowered, nodded at the few who glanced his way, and waited for the aisle to clear. The hem of his coat still dripped water onto the stone floor, leaving a dark, spreading ring at his feet. Most of the mourners clustered around the woman at the front, stopping to murmur condolences, squeeze her shoulder, move on. Leo watched their shoes pass his row, one after another, counting the seconds until he could slip out unseen. The last guest stepped away from the front. The casket sat empty of its bearers, still closed, still quiet. The widow stood alone by the altar. She did not look down at the floor or at the casket. She lifted her chin and turned her head straight toward the back row, straight toward Leo. Their eyes locked. Leo's shoulders tensed. He told himself it was a coincidence. She was just scanning the room to see if anyone had stayed behind. She would look away. She didn't. She stepped out from the altar rail and walked straight down the aisle toward him. No detour, no hesitation. Her footsteps clicked soft against the stone. Leo's heart started to beat faster. He had never seen this woman before. She stopped at the end of his row and held out one pale, trembling hand. "I was waiting for you, Leo," she said. Leo blinked. He did not move. He could not place the voice or the name on her tongue. How it sounded like she had said it 100 times before. Leo blinked again and forced his throat to work. His mouth had gone dry. He shifted his weight forward on the pew, one hand moving to the edge of the wood to push himself up. Confusion warred with polite instinct in his chest. He was in the wrong place. He had to say so. He had to apologize, explain he'd misread the door number, and slip out to the other chapel before anyone noticed the mistake. He opened his mouth. "I'm sorry." The words never came out fully. The widow did not step back. She did not let him finish. She kept her hand out, and with the other, she pulled the thick cream envelope from inside her coat. She pushed it straight toward his chest, before he could close his mouth, before he could pull back, before he could ask what she was talking about. The envelope hit his palm solid, heavy, the paper thick and stiff under his fingers. His fingers went cold. Instantly, the cold creeping up his wrist to his elbow. He did not take it. He did not push it away. He just let it settle into his hand, the weight of it pressing down into his bones. She held it there for a beat, then let go, her pale fingers leaving the paper, leaving the full weight in his grip. "My husband wanted you to have this," she said. Her voice was soft, steady, no tremor now, no uncertainty. She knew exactly what she was doing. She had known from the moment she locked eyes with him. Leo's fingers curled around the envelope, unconsciously. the stiff edge digging into the meat of his palm. He could feel the thick paper sealed tight at the back. No give, no sign of what was inside. His heart hammered against his ribs, so loud he thought she could hear it. He still had no idea who she was. He still had not said a word about the wrong service. The envelope lay heavy in his hand, and he could not make himself move to open it. The widow stood still, watching him, her smile soft and unchanging. She did not rush him. She did not explain. She just waited, like she had all the time in the world. Leo swallowed hard and lifted the envelope up to eye level. The cream paper was unmarked. No name, no address, just the thick, stiff edge and the sealed flap at the back. He hooked his thumb under the flap and pulled. The seal stuck. It held fast, the glue still strong. No give. He pulled harder, the paper stretching, a sharp tear ripping along the edge instead of popping the seal clean. He felt the panic prickle at the back of his neck. He adjusted his grip, got a better hold on the broken edge, and wrenched the seal open completely. The flap tore free in his hand, and he tipped the envelope downward. A single glossy photo slid out and dropped onto his open palm. It was heavier than he expected. His thumb brushed the edge as he tilted it up to see the image. The first thing he recognized was his own bed frame. The scuffed oak headboard he had never gotten around to sanding. Then the sheets, the same tangled linens he had changed that morning. Then the shape in the middle of the bed. It was him. He was asleep, turned on his side, half his face pressed into the pillow. The clock on his nightstand glowed bright, the numbers clear enough to read. 2 a.m. He dragged his gaze down to the bottom edge of the photo, where the date was printed in small black ink. It was yesterday. The date was yesterday. His breath caught in his chest. It caught, and it would not move past the tight knot that had formed in his throat. The air would not go in. It would not go out. He stared at the photo, at his own sleeping face, at the glowing numbers that proved someone had been in his house, in his room, while he slept. His throat tightened more. He could not breathe. He could not draw a single breath. He forced his gaze up from the photo, chest heaving, each gasp ragged and burning in his throat. The widow stood still smiling that soft, calm smile. "He always kept his promises," she said. "He always said you'd come." The words landed soft, but they hit Leo like a fist. He stumbled back a step, his shoulder hitting the back of the pew with a dull thud. He remembered his boss's funeral 10 minutes earlier, in the other chapel down the hall. He remembered the closed casket at the front of this room, the one he had not thought to question. The man in that casket was not her husband. It was the private detective Leo hired 3 months ago. The detective he'd paid to follow and kill the man who'd been blackmailing him. The widow stepped closer and lifted her other hand. She unfolded the thick cream paper she'd been holding all along. It was his obituary, already printed, already prepared, waiting for him when he walked through the door.